right now. That is near LaGuardia Airport. It's the Airport Hotel. You can see the address on our screen. And for any information, you can call 1-800-679-8215. Once again, this is U.S. Airways Flight 1549. It left LaGuardia Airport at about 3:25 this afternoon. It ended up in the water approximately 3 minutes later, and the cause, it has been speculated that a bird or a flock of birds collided with this plane and disabled one, possibly two engines. We're told by witnesses that the pilot was able to glide safely to land on the Hudson River. And we also had heard that passengers were able to escape, and all of them apparently are accounted for and have been distributed all over the city and in points in New Jersey where they're being looked after. Also, the Red Cross reporting that they have sent some 600 blankets to 2 locations. So presumably this is where a number of the individuals who were rescued have been taken. The World Yacht and New York Waterways don't know exactly how many people are there, obviously, and they're continuing to assess the situation. But that is the word from the Red Cross, and we are hearing the news so far is good, that if there are any injuries to deal with, mostly they're comprised of exposure to that cold water. 40 degrees in the water, we're told, 20 degrees outside.
And no indication from anybody that this is some kind of terrorist act. Once again, there's speculation that a bird caused this, though the U.S. Airways representative said it's premature to speculate about the cause of the accident. They're going to go through the black box and the whole process before we actually know anything. But for the latest from the scene at this moment, we go to our Dean Meminger, who's standing by. Dean?
Well, Lewis and Aroma, chaotic scene right behind me here on 41st and the West Side Highway as emergency vehicles continue to arrive to this area trying to figure out what went wrong. But as you said, so far we are hearing definite good news that everyone on the plane, that they were able to get off. We understand the majority of the people were taken to the New Jersey side of the Hudson River here. Now, earlier today, right around 3:25, between 3:25 and 3:30, I was up in the Bronx at the Bronx Zoo on Fordham Road, right across from Fordham University. As I was exiting the Bronx Zoo, I heard a huge boom, and it was so loud that I said, wow, what is that? I thought it was a plow truck. So at that point, I looked around. I did not see any truck. No one was near me. So I got out of my vehicle, looked up in the air, and I saw a plane flying by. It was apparently going north at that point, and I saw flames coming out of the rear of the plane, the left rear of the plane, out of the engine, and immediately the crew started to turn that plane around. Now, I don't know if that was an emergency maneuver they were doing or if that was the route they had planned, but at that point, they started to turn that plane immediately around, and they were heading towards LaGuardia Airport. I know this because I've seen many planes, of course, take off from Queens going across the Bronx. I've seen them land. So at that point, from where I was on Fordham Road, I knew they were headed back to Queens trying to land, because I did see the flames coming out of the rear of that plane's engine. At that point, I knew it was a very large plane as well. Now, the plane did not make it to LaGuardia Airport, but did land here in the Hudson River. And as we said before, all of the passengers reportedly at this point did make it out, and we are being told that by some of the witnesses that we have spoken to and other news people that they knew something was wrong, because the pilot told them, well, prepare, we have to make a landing, and at some point they knew that they were not going to make it to LaGuardia Airport and that they were going to go down in the Hudson River. And once again, I did speak to a witness that he was riding by on Fordham Road, coming from Pelham Parkway, where it connects with Fordham Road, and he immediately started saying that he saw the flames and, oh my God, I hope they make it back. He said he thought the plane was a 747 because it was a large plane, and we could see that from where we were standing at that point. I did have the opportunity immediately to call a lot of my law enforcement contacts to find out if they had heard anything. The first person I spoke to, he didn't hear anything, but then I spoke to another individual, and this was within 2 or 3 minutes after seeing the flames coming out of the plane, and the officer told me, yes, they were hearing the calls coming in over the radio that there was a problem with a plane in the area, and then immediately another officer called me back to confirm it. So once again, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to catch this plane in distress over the Bronx. Once again, this is what I heard. I heard a huge pop, a boom. Startled me. I looked around, I didn't see anything, so I got out of the vehicle, looked in the air, and saw the flames coming out of the rear of that plane, and that's when the crew made a U-turn with the plane, headed back to LaGuardia, to Queens, but unfortunately they only made it here to around 41st Street in the West Side Highway, landing in the Hudson River. But at this point, as we have been reporting for the majority of the late afternoon, early evening hours, everyone, they have made it out, and that is good news. And I understand just a few people were taken across here to the Manhattan side. Most of the people were taken across to New Jersey, but I have to say, from the time I saw the plane in the sky, the crew, they knew something was wrong, and they were trying their hardest to get back to LaGuardia. It wasn't an erratic move. It was a very smooth U-turn that they were making in the air. And from what we have heard so far from the witnesses that saw the plane go down in the water, that the pilot actually glided that plane right on to the water here. So a good move by that crew. And that is the very latest from the West Side Highway at the scene of this plane accident. Let's go back to you guys in the newsroom.
Okay, Dean, sounds a lot like what we've been hearing from other witnesses, that this was a controlled descent. We're going to certainly check back with you later, but in the meantime, we have new information on the
well, in the meantime, we have on the phone Alan Yerman. He's a former NTSB investigator. And Mr. Yerman, thanks for talking to us. We just received a report that the pilot on that plane reported to an air traffic controller official that a double bird strike less than a minute after takeoff caused this plane to go down, this catastrophic incident. Is this something that is consistent with what you have experienced in the past? Does this sound like something that could be caused by a collision with a bird or flock of birds?
Oh, yes. It's, you know, I don't know what type of birds they were, but you've got to remember that the airplane's moving at a very fast speed, the birds are moving at a speed, and you get a closure rate, and you get a heavy bird, you've got heavy objects, and if they're injected into the engines, like I understand happened, then you can have the flame out.
Mr. Yerman, likewise, it seems like it's amazing that other accidents haven't happened like this. How common is this?
Well, double engine failure is not common.
Well, I'm talking about the birds disabling the engines.
Right. The birds there have been bird strikes in the past, and they have not always caused as much damage as this. But once the bird strikes both engines, flames out both engines, you don't have any power anymore. You can't go anywhere. You're dead stick. You have no way to control the power of the airplane. Pilot did an excellent job of choosing a landing site. Happens to be in the river. Did an excellent job of ditching the aircraft, and as a result, we have 100 some odd plus people that are rescued.
Is there anything a pilot can do to avoid it? Is there any notion of pilot error in this, or is it just something that happens?
Because when you're departure and you're traveling at a high rate of speed, if the birds happen to be there, they just start hitting the aircraft.
So,
it's like I don't know whether it was snowing at the time or visibility was restricted, but then the pilot may not have been able to see them. Sometimes, if there's enough birds and they're big enough birds, ground radar can pick them up and warn the pilot. But evidently, in this particular case, they had no warning that the birds were there.
And Mr. Yerman, knowing how vulnerable planes are to these bird strikes, what preventative measures are being done at airports to keep these birds away from the planes?
Oh, they've done everything.
Really?
Yeah, there's some airports that have dogs that chase birds away from the airport. There's different lighting systems, some kind of flickering lights and sounds